Hello guys, this is Lori with LM's Crafty Creations, and I'm here with not really a tutorial. I'm just going to be showing you how I decorated this box that my mini album is going to fit in. I have completed my Carta toy box album, and you can see that it's really full with not a whole lot of room to go. That's because I really packed it. So I've already done the front cover of my album. I kept it really simple. I wanted to make sure this toy box showed through this window right here when I put my album in the box. So I'm going to kind of put that to the side. I've already went ahead and cut all of my pieces for the box. But I wanted to go ahead and give you guys the measurements that I used so that if you want to, if you get the box and you decide you want to decorate it, you can do it either similar to mine, or you can cut your pattern paper the way I cut mine to decorate the box. So, as you can see, I used the Artisan Navy cardstock that Tamara sent me in my kit. It is from her store, and let's see, let's start with, I guess, the outside of the box. So I went ahead and measured the long sides and the short sides and cut my cardstock. So to get a 1/4 inch border around, you're going to cut these pieces at, you need 2 pieces at 2 3/4 by 8 1/4 to do the long ones, and then the short ones are 2 3/4 by 6 inches. So I'm just going to quickly adhere those down here right now. I am going to use my art glitter glue. I really wanted to add pattern paper to these as well, but the book really took every single bit of 12 by 12 to decorate it that I had, because it is quite a large book. So I decided that I would just stick with the navy artisan cardstock, which looks really nice. So let's do the smaller one. And I really wanted to film the video too, just to show you guys how I decorated the top of the box, since it does have that cutout, and to give you those measurements as well, because it can be a little tricky when you have, you know, a piece cut out the top to decorate along those edges. Also, when I got to thinking about it, I thought that it would be better if I kept, I decided not to put cardstock on the inside of the sleeve, because I just thought it would get messed up pulling the box in and out. So I didn't do cardstock for that, but I am going to layer cardstock inside the box. So here's the last outside piece. I guess I could stay in frame so you guys could see, huh? That would be helpful. So there's my box covered all the way around. I really like the blue with the ivory cardstock. It looks nice. So the inside of the box is what I'm going to do next. And you're going to need to cut these pieces slightly smaller than what you did for the outside of the box. So for the inside, it's still going to be 2 3/4 wide, but for the shorter side, it's going to need to be 2 3/4 by 5 7/8. And then for the longer side, you need 2 pieces at 2 3/4 by 8 1/8, which is kind of a strange measurement. I'm just going to do a little test fit here. I'm going to prop this up so maybe you guys can see it too while I'm working. This is probably the shortest amount of time it has taken me to complete a design team project, complete with video and all, because I was just so excited to get to use one of these boxes and albums together. And the paper collection was really cute that I had to work with. I really liked it. And I'm really hoping that as I do this, that I cut these correctly. I did measure and everything and did test fits, but you know, sometimes I think I cut things correctly and then I get on camera and it's like, well, crap. And then at the bottom, I'm going to put a piece of cardstock down, but I'm also think I'm going to do like a ribbon. I'm going to use my seam binding actually, and I'm going to do like a pull so I can pull the book out, because otherwise you have to dump the box over to get the book out. Now, obviously I put tons of stuff in this album. As far as like additional booklets and things like that, if you kept those out and just matted the pages, there's plenty of spaces for photos without adding additional booklets. You would still, you know, have lots of space in the book. I just got carried away. And I wanted to use all of everything that Tamara sent me. Okay, so now the inside of the box is you're going to cut a piece at 8 1/8 by 5 7/8. And what I'm going to do here, so this is going to go at the very bottom, and I'm going to take just some 1/4 inch score tape, and I'm going to run it, you know, I'm not really going to measure, I'm just going to run it kind of down the middle all the way at the side. And I'm going to burnish it. And my trash is over there. And then I'm going to take this seam binding and I'm just going to stick it down. And this will be my pull. Oops. And then I'm going to glue the whole thing down. So this is kind of going to go up this way and just hang all the way off the bottom. And let's see, what do I want to do? I guess I'll just tighten a knot. I almost want to double it, you know? So that there's 2 layers and that it's stronger, because I have enough. So hold on, let me figure out how I'm going to do this. I'm just going to measure a length down. I want to make sure there's enough that it sticks out beyond the book so I can get it out. And then I'm going to bring this over. And I'm just going to go ahead and glue this down. Whoops, and try not to do that. So there, kind of have a double layer there. And then I'm going to add glue to the top of that, and maybe even some more, whatchamacallit, score tape. Wouldn't hurt. Let's just add a couple strips to reinforce this. Makes me feel better about it. Right on the edge there. Since I'm going to be pulling on it. And then I'm going to take the end of this here, and I'm just going to tie this in a knot. Maybe I should wait until I put my book in. Okay, hold on. So I'm going to take this off. I'm going to take my box and I'm going to fill this with glue and hopefully stick it down right the first time and get it even. I like glue, obviously. So So here we go. Try to keep my head out of the camera. Have a little bit of time to move it around, but not a lot. And then I'm just going to go for it. So I'm going to burnish right there where that seam binding is. You can kind of see the line right there. Make sure that's stuck down really good. So there we go. So now the idea, I hope I did this long enough because I really didn't measure. When you stick your book in, like so, yay, you have this little edge, which I guess I won't tie any knot in it. If I would have made it a little longer, I could have tied a knot in it. But, so when you pull, is it going to work for me? It still helps you get the book out without dumping it, but, you know, it's a chunky book, so I think that's good enough. That book just barely fits in there. I have just a little bit of room. Wait, which way am I going? Just this way. Sorry. There's just a little bit of space right there for it to grow some more. So anyway, there's my little pull. So you do have to kind of pick it up right here and then pull, and it does take the album out nicely. So I like the way that turned out. So what are we going to do now? Let's put this part aside. So I think that looks really nice, huh? With the blue. So now we're going to do this part, which is the trickier part. So let's start with the easy part. I already got my top kind of laid out. Okay, so this is the inside, or sorry, the outside of what I call the sleeve. And you're going to need two pieces of cardstock or pattern paper at 2 7/8 by 8 1/4 for this. And we're going to cover this right here. So this is the easy part. The cardstock has a little bit of a textured look to it, so it looks really nice on there. And we'll do the other side. And then I decided to leave the inside just plain ivory. I don't think I'm going to put any cardstock in it because I imagine when you slip the box in and out that it may mess up the cardstock. And I didn't put an acetate window, but you always could. If you decided to do that, you would cut your acetate at like, I would give you a 1/2 inch on each side and do it at 4 1/2 by 6 1/2 and just run your tape all along the edge of the window and then all along the edge of your acetate and just stick it down like we do using our when we make our pockets. I did cut this large piece. So to do, I am going to do the back. I'm going to cover the back of this in cardstock. So you're going to need two pieces at 6 1/4 by 8 1/4. And that's because this is going to be the front, and I'll show you, or I'll tell you how to cut all this out. So let's adhere the back down first. I wanted a little bit of a decorative something on the top of the box. Okay, So now for the top, again, you're going to cut this a whole entire piece at 6 1/4 by 8 1/4, just like we did the one for the back. And then to get this cut out in the middle, which mine is a little uneven because I kind of freehanded it to figure it out and give you these measurements, you're going to measure 1 inch in from the edge. So actually 1 inch and 1/8 in from the edge. Now that gives me a pretty good border here. If you wanted less of a border, then I would do maybe 1 1/4 inch in from the edge of the cardstock. So you measure from here in all the way around on all 4 sides, draw your square, and then cut that out with your knife. Okay, that's what I would suggest. And then once you have that, what I did to do, actually I can take these off. I just put these on here so I wouldn't lose them, so you can see. Because this is what I'm going to put on the corners. I wanted it to have, you know, like I said, a toy box theme, since that's really the theme of the album. And so here you can see where I cut these strips and glued them kind of together. And there are some gaps here, and that's okay because I'm going to cover them up with my little stickers that I backed on cardstock. So these, if you do 1 inch and 1/8 all the way around to give you this middle square cutout, then to mat this, I did it at 7/8 of an inch. And then by this long side is by 8 and 1/8. So yeah. So these strips it's 7/8 of an inch by 8 and 1/8, and the same for this side. And then on this side I did them about 4 1/4 by 7/8 of an inch, and you can tell they are just slightly smaller because there are some gaps here. So depending on whether or not you place these strips straight, you're going to want to measure your distance between these two here to get this strip. So mine was about 4 1/4 is what mine was. I could have done them, you know, about 4 3/8 to get rid of these little tiny gaps, but it didn't really matter to me because I'm going to stick these right here, and it's going to cover that up. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this down. Whoops. And you know, I was just shooting for an even distance on each side, and it's not perfect, so I'm not gonna lie to you there. I know it's not perfect, and that's okay. I was fine with the way it turned out, but I definitely wanted to let y'all know how I did that because it is tricky. What I did to get the measurements of the inside is I took my 6 1/4 by 8 1/4 piece of a navy cardstock and I stuck it under here, and then I traced right here the corners of where the opening would be, and then I measured about 1/4 of an inch over and drew my lines, and that's what I cut out that square to give you the 1 1/8 of an inch measurement to cut here. So I hope that makes sense, in case you want to try to do it yourself and figure out what the exact spacing is here that you would prefer if you don't like mine. So here I'm just going to glue these directly down just in the center, just to cover up those little gaps, and then just to decorate my box just a bit. This is a boy project, so if it were more girly, then I of course would have added ribbons and bows and flowers and more of that nature to it, but I wanted to stick fairly simple since it is boy themed. But as you'll see when I do the album review, that I added lots of seam binding in, and so I still snuck in the ribbon a little bit. These stickers are so cute. I really love them. And then I'll go ahead and go through and show you guys the part of the album so I can tell you how I matted mine as well. There we go. And I'm done. That's all I'm going to do to my box. I'm going to keep it simple. So this is going to stick right in here. And that's the way my toy box looks. I think it turned out really cute. I'm really happy with it. I love the navy with the ivory. I think it looks really good. And I would have liked to have added, excuse me, to double matted with pattern paper, but like I said, I just used it all in the book. So let me take the book out and I will show you guys what I did. So on the inside, I didn't do anything with the spine here because it does have that book plate, so I just left that blank to where you can put a date or whatever in there. And you know what I was going to do? I was going to ink around the edges of the box, but I didn't do that. But I kind of like the ivory, so I think I'm going to leave it that way. I did ink around all of my edges here with, it was a different one, walnut stain, I think. Different from what I normally use. So anyway, the pages in here, when you cut this to mat it, it's really simple, okay? So the flaps are measured at, you're going to cut your cardstock to 5 1/4 by 7 1/4 for these flaps on both sides. And then what I did here, if you'll notice, these pockets, they're not really gusseted or hinged or however you want to say it at all. They're actually glued right here on the edge. So you don't have the full real estate of the pocket. So when I cut this piece and tried to stick it into the pocket, it wouldn't go because they're glued down right here. So what I did is I still cut my cardstock to 5 1/4 by 7 1/4, and then I cut this pocket piece at 2 3/4. So this one's 2 3/4 by 5 1/4 to mat. And then I had this piece left, and what I did is I shaved 1/8 of an inch off of what was left after I cut this pocket off, and then I used that to mat it. So if you look carefully here, it doesn't go down into the pocket at all. It just sits right on the top of the edge of the pocket. So just something to note if you're going to be matting one of these books. And then you have to also be careful with how much you put in them, because that's about all that will fit right there. And in some of them I did, that's not one. Where is it? Here. I did these little booklets, because you know I love doing booklets. What else can I tell you guys? I did put photo mats inside the pockets, and these are measured at 5 by 7. And then I covered each one with pattern paper. So like I said, I used 2 full packages of 12 by 12 to make this album. I used an entire package of ephemera, as well as almost the full package of the navy cardstock that Tamara sent me. I used all the seam binding that I had, and what else did I use? And I used almost all of the sticker sheet that came with the collection, and that's about it. I really wanted to put some of the chipboard stickers in here, but like I said, it's already really full, so I didn't have room. So there's my project, guys. I hope that you like it, and thanks for watching.